What up, everyone? DJ Anubis.
And DJ Neko.
Here with you on the Metal Time Radio podcast doing another movie review. What'd you think?
I liked it.
All right.
I have no so first off.
Well, let's get into the basics of the movie.
All right. So first tell them what we saw.
All right. So Evil Dead Rise had some pretty cool trailers before that. Mm-hmm. We saw Blue Beetle, Flash, which I'm still conflicted on a little bit. And then
yeah, it wasn't. I was like, isn't that the rapist?
Yeah. Then there was one called Talk to Me or something. It was like a horror film.
Yeah, I was like, that looks a little scary. There's another one too. I couldn't remember.
The Blackening looked kind of funny.
The Blackening did look kind of. It looked like it was a good campy, but like with cool horror elements.
Right.
A little bit of Jumanji.
Yeah.
Mixed in.
Or Saw or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I say Jumanji because it's about a game.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So we saw Evil Dead Rise. Just came out. Directed by Lee Cronin. Cast is Alyssa Sutherland, who plays Ellie now. She was the only one I recognized from this. She played Princess Aslog from the Vikings series on History Channel. Apparently, though, and maybe Neko will remember, she also played Clacker on The Devil Wears Prada. So I don't know what character that is, but
she's just an extra. Like when they called like the office workers the clackers.
Okay.
So like because that's the sound of their high heels hitting the marble floor.
Then we have Lily Sullivan, who plays Beth. Gabrielle Eccles plays Bridget. Morgan Davies is Danny. And brand new to the movie industry, Nell Fisher plays Cassie. This is
how do you spell the Eccles?
It is Echolls.
Oh, I was wondering if it was anyone related to Jensen.
I don't think so.
Thought but he's ECK.
And then really the only other character of note is Mia Chalice, who plays Jessica. And she's actually one that we see at the beginning and end of the film. Plot is a twisted tale of two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons, thrusting them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable.
The Deadites.
Yeah. The opening was really cool. Like, we're not going to give a lot of spoilers away, but
they went right into the cool, like...
Yeah, the Jessica at the lake, and then like the backdrop of the title of the film, like that was like a really, really cool shot. So basically, Ellie and her 3 kids are living in a high rise, and
it used to be a bank, and it's a very old, historic building.
Very old.
That they converted into apartments, and apparently Ellie had been living there for a long time with her now estranged husband, who you don't even see him in the film, but that's kind of like what was bringing the sisters back together, Beth and Ellie. Beth herself, she found out she was pregnant and wanted to come see her sister.
And she was like a roadie or something.
She was a tech person for
they kind of called her. They were teasing her about being a groupie. It's something that comes up, off and on throughout the film, just sort of like a stab at her or whatever. But that was her career. It was kind of like a big deal to her because she was about to be made the head tech manager in her little group. And she's like, there's never been a woman in my group, and it's a big deal for me, blah, blah, blah. But, pardon me. But they do have, like, this tension because, with Ellie losing her husband, she had tried to get a hold of her sister, but her sister was so busy career-wise that she didn't really call her back, and then a little bit of tension there. But then the kids themselves... you've got a little bit 2 older teens, Danny and Bridget, and then the Cassie, of course, is a very young one. So while they're there, there's this earthquake. Like, it really hits hard, and they're in the
building. So,
and the kids are out getting pizza because Danny can drive. So they get pizza and stuff, but then that's when the earthquake hits when they get back inside the car garage, and it opens up a hole in the floor. Red alert! And that's when, of course, we find Danny, he gets curious, snoops down there, and discovers the book.
It was an old bank vault, and they made it.
But it had like a crypt too. Like it was almost like a.
Well, if you saw how it had like the drawers he was pulling out and the bugs scatter and all, but I think that crypt, if you can rent many different size personal bank drawers or bank vaults, and this was a much larger bank vault area where it almost was entombed.
Yeah.
And then there were rosaries and Saint Benedict medals like all around it as protection. I'm sure it was blessed, and it was kind of cracked in the tomb. So you see Danny peeking in, and he sees the book. Takes the book. He's a curious 17-year-old, and he's a real he's a DJ. He has all this mixing equipment. He's got turntables. And he sees these old vinyls, 7 of them. And he's like, I'm going to check these out as well. So he takes the vinyls and he takes the book. And
I think his initial thought is, I got some new music I can use for my
And he was probably thinking that, wow, this is very old. You could even tell it was so old that, I don't know if people realize that there's different speeds on your turntable. And right now it's, 45, and what's the large one? 78?
Probably something like that.
So, but these other ones that he had, they were so old. They were the old school thick vinyl, and that's a different speed. And most of the modern turntables now don't even have that. So when he starts playing with them, he has to
speed it up
himself with his fingers.
Yeah. So one thing that was really cool about this movie, for those that have followed the Evil Dead, series, the Book of the Dead always plays a part. So this version of the Book of the Dead was really cool. It was similar to the old one, but not a lot. But the whole teeth that kind of clasp it together, that was cool.
Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is it's a short movie, but you still feel like you get enough from each character, and from the vinyls give you a piece of the history of this book. He's listening to them.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's, a priest who has found this and wants to study it. But you can tell that whoever did this back in the past wanted to preserve history. And nowadays you can just grab your phone and do a voice recording or whatever. This person was dedicated, he was educated, so it was cool because you can hear it's almost like you can tell that this person is making these as it's happening, because he's just, a lot of people didn't do that back then. It was 1923?
Yeah. So the interesting story part where the records and the book comes into play and why it's happening is a very interesting and new take on everything. The gore levels up there. If you are a gore hound, it is.
And if you are squeamish, there's a lot of vomiting.
Yeah.
So don't I'm that's the only spoiler I'm going to give you, is there's lots of blood.
Well, they were kind of used to that in the other films too.
But this was worse. I don't want to say worse because it was really good. Worse, but this was very graphic. It didn't look phony. It was everything that they did, special effects wise, was believable. It was, if you're going to get your hand cut off, it looked like your hand or your head got cut off. Everything was just beautifully done. I thought the acting was amazing, honestly.
I was getting ready to say Sutherland, who plays Ellie, and she's basically the main antagonist. Very convincing. Mm-hmm. She was already pretty good in Vikings, but this role is something that she really took a hold of, because she was truly terrifying.
She had to play a monster and a mom.
Yeah.
So you see, at the beginning, you can tell she's really cool, though. She's a tattoo artist. She's, working on her tattoo equipment. She has, some cool tattoos on her. Hi, Hazel.
Yep.
There's Hazel.
It's not the Evil Dead coming after us.
I really I like the dynamic of her being, cool hippie mom. she had these kids that were really cool too. You could tell that she was letting her son wanted to be a DJ, and her daughter.
Yeah, she seemed pretty kind of lenient on what, like the daughter was like an activist in some form.
She's like, "You're not going to that protest by yourself," and she's like, "I'm going with so and so's dad," and she's like, "All right." The youngest one was adorable.
Cassie. Yeah.
But she was adorable, not in like a precocious way. It was more like
she was feisty too.
The way at first she delivered her lines were just perfect. But it wasn't like the over the top, look at me, I'm a cute little kid. It was more like she acted like what you would think a kid would be right now, who just has a little bit of fire. But then when it got scary, she was a kid hiding under a chair, or it wasn't like, look at me, I'm a tough kid. It was
that's the thing, because certain things happen in this film with certain people, and you're like, wow, they went there. And so like that was something I don't think we've really seen in the series at all, at least in terms of like age groups and stuff. So be prepared for that, because that's a nice little twist that's in the film.
I felt like the whole their floor was almost like its own character too.
Yeah,
and the building itself, like everything was, I don't want to call it haunted, but it's the Deadites, you know, how they get into everything. And it was just perfect, like little things about how the elevator was reacting, or just the doors.
A lot of attention to detail.
It was, I really enjoyed that they took a historical kind of approach to it, because this is, and it's different. It's not what we typically see with you know, you're in the woods in the middle of nowhere. This is somebody's house.
Yeah. One thing you will notice, which probably shouldn't shock anybody, is the nostalgic moments in this film. So you will see a lot of things that you've seen throughout the series.
And don't spoil.
No, I'm not, but you will kind of laugh. I mean, I'm going to show you just one moment here.
Oh no.
Which I think was actually in.
It was in the trailer.
Yeah, it's basically the chainsaw. It does come into play in the film, but there's other aspects of stuff that you've seen throughout the series that show up, and it was a lot of fun watching that happen and unfold. Like it was sometimes it was the most simplest thing. So. Like something between the sister and brother that happened. And so I thought, oh my God, I know where they're going with that. And so on. So we saw a lot of cool stuff like that. But now that I've sat here like and thought about it, like, because I'm going to give my rankings of all the films now since seeing this one. I think they still held back, which is weird, because they did a nice job with the gore and the horror. But there were times I felt like they held back. So do you remember 2013 Evil Dead enough? I mean, especially the kitchen scene with the arm. I mean, it's been a while. But.
Yeah, I've probably seen it once. And
so, like, whereas with that film, like, they didn't shy away from just giving you everything. You know, we did see a cool moment with the glass in the hand, which reminded me of the tongue thing in the fucking 2013 movie. So they did do some things, but then other things I thought, well, why not just show us more of that? But they never did that. But
what was this rated?
R, I'm pretty sure. There's no way.
There's a lot of blood.
There's no way it's PG-13.
I was just wondering if they had to get. Because there is
maybe
NC-17, like you're only allowed to have so much blood, so many curse words, so much. I mean, there was like
they do put like limits on how much you can do, so maybe that's part of it. Now it was produced by Raimi and Bruce Campbell together, so they
there you go.
So they had a hand in some of this stuff. It does set up a sequel for sure. But one thing I was wondering is, because I thought I had read that 2013 was the beginning and this was like the sequel of that one in some way. I'm not 100% sure on that. This could be.
It almost feels like this could be before 2013, the way that
It's possible. I know 2013 may not even exist in this particular universe, but the ending of this one does set up another one. So whether or not this is the first one of maybe a trilogy they're going to do, I don't know. But
the ending and the beginning of this one kind of like leaves it. It's open-ended on both sides. There's so many ways you could work off of it.
Well, you do realize Jessica at the end.
I'm not. Yes, I'm not stupid. That's why I'm saying the beginning and the end.
So my rating on this for a movie is 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean,
a little less, a little more.
A little less.
So what, 7 or 8?
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. It's really good, but like, I gave Maverick a 9.
Okay.
So.
I give that a 10.
I know.
But I think I also gave 2013 a 10. So.
Yeah, I guess I would go like. I also kind of think to myself, am I going to watch this again?
Well, that's part of the
for me, and I don't know. Like, well, I think once is enough for me for this movie. I don't think it's a bad movie, but
not enough to go back to.
No, because I'll go back to Army of Darkness 100 times.
Right. But that one's a little bit more scaled back on the gore. That's more comedy, but. Yeah, like, but you've seen Evil Dead 2, so yeah, and would you watch Evil Dead 2 more than this one?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like there's something about Bruce Campbell and his likability that even though I liked all these characters, and I think they.
Well, the one thing that this film has going for it that we agreed with 2013 is that they kind of scrapped all the comedy. They said, we're going to go full horror. We're going to bring it all to you this way. And that's one thing I can appreciate what they're doing.
I can too, but I still think Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are way better than this.
Right, and so
that's why I'm not going to give it a 9 or a 10. It's more like a 7.5 for me.
Okay. Yeah, so if I'm ranking the Evil Dead series right now, and I'll even take some heat for it from people, but it's going to be Evil Dead number 1, Army of Darkness number 2, Evil Dead 2013 3, Evil Dead Rise 4, and then the original Evil Dead 5. Most people are like, oh my God, Evil Dead is way better than all those. No, it might be the origin of everything, but I still feel like it fails in some areas for me.
I feel like it was a practice run. I know
it sort of was, terrible. And it sort of was because Raimi had already done like The Cabin or something prior to that with Campbell, and it's been kind of like I felt like Evil 2 kind of like just cleaned it all up.
Evil Dead 2 was the perfection of it,
right?
And then Evil Dead was kind of like the first Evil Dead that it just wasn't complete enough. Evil Dead 2.
Plus, the effects for that one are way different than 2. So 2 was like a big progress over the first one. So. It's not that I hate Evil Dead. It's just I've never had the love for it as I have the other ones.
I think I've watched Evil Dead maybe twice. Maybe every couple of years it'll just be on TV, or because we have Shudder, and Shudder like just plays stuff randomly at times.
Right.
All
right.
For me, Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2, and then everything else.
Yeah.
It's the only I don't hate the other movies. But the fact that I can't remember any of the plot from Evil Dead 2013 just goes to show you that, I mean, I know it was in a cabin. I know they went like down under in the basement, and it was kind of like a, what do you call it? Like,
it was like a cellar.
Like a sacrificial cellar type thing. They were going out. That's it. I barely remember any of it. That's not to say that it wasn't good. It just wasn't as memorable as Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2 was for me. I actually think this is going to stick in my mind more than Evil Dead 2013.
Yeah, I can kind of see that just because the story is a much better story than 2013, because 2013 really relies heavily on the first 2 films. This one's going all on its own, which we saw like some early stuff before the trailers where one chick came on and she was talking about how this reminded her of another movie that Scream 6, because that takes place in like New York or something. So it's almost like they're doing the whole Jason Takes Manhattan type approach to this, So everything's going to the big city, and they did that fucking with Land of the Dead, which was really good with Romero. So yeah, as far as plot wise, this is a much stronger story. The acting's probably way better than 2013. There's just certain elements of 13 that comes to the gore and the effects that I like more than this one. But I don't shy away from either one of them. I think both are decent. But as you said, the first two films, Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, are the go-tos for me.
Always will be. And I think part of it too with Army of Darkness is you think about when it was made, and Evil Dead 2. You think about when it was made, and a lot of it was practical effects, camera work, and claymation. You know, like they created a whole undead army out of like.
It's almost like Ray Harryhausen almost.
This, now granted, I think there was a lot of practical effects in this movie. There was a lot of actual, you can tell that they were actually being splattered with blood. Mm-hmm. You can tell it was makeup and not some kind of, maybe they did enhance it a little bit, you know, after shooting. But
I'm sure there's some CGI in there,
but yeah, the only thing I think that was really, really CGI was that end.
Yeah. Except for when he got real close, it looks like they did the whole. Yeah, we're not gonna give that away, but yeah, definitely. All right, well, thank you all for checking out this review. We very much appreciate it. Please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. We got a lot more stuff coming your way in the next few weeks. And take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I know we will. Later.
See ya.